Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 7 of our Let's Play of Star Traders Frontiers. In the last episode, we took the Arbiter around the McLumnu worlds. We conducted an independent investigation of the Highland bombings. The news wasn't good, and upon returning to Callaghan's court, he promptly kicked everyone out. Now we must decide what to do, whether we want to help the Faens or not, and whether we want to help the Arbiter or not. I've had a bit of a think, and I've decided that we should help out the Faens, at least for the time being. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but let's keep an open mind moving forward. And we also have an empty crew slot, which I would like to fill with either a military officer or a spy sooner rather than later. Let's start by checking on the prince. So none of his traits have changed at all. We can certainly get a few more ranks, but I'm wondering whether we should wait a little bit before. Yeah, I think we will. We still have all the kids' missions, if I'm not mistaken. So let's begin by promoting rank a little bit. Okay, we can only go up to 5. We'll gain a couple of ranks in Trader and 1 in Edict, just so that we can have the Edict. A diplomatic tour is still available. Let's begin by seeing if Callaghan's temper has cooled before we commit ourselves to any missions. Captain, I'm glad to see you've returned. Let me apologize for my outburst. I should have known that Estelle would value her political neutrality over helping my family, even after all these years. I believe, my prince, that while she's hell-bent on playing the impartiality card, she's not wrong. Aiden Char holds compelling evidence against your daughter. We have seen some of it ourselves. The Arbiter did leave a report with some details, enough to see what's coming. I can see that you're not done fighting, Prince Faen. No, far from it. Valencia's life's at stake today, and that won't be the end of it. Princess Aiden's ambition goes far beyond that. This will be a trying time for the Faen cohort. I hope that you will stick by us now. There's much work to be done. This case is far from settled. Right, so here we have free choice who to speak to. I think we'll just go in order from left to right, so let's start with Eric Faen, the eldest son. You must be Eric Faen. That is correct. I am Callaghan's second son by adoption, as Val is his first daughter. Does that mean that Callaghan has another son, or is he second in line because Valencia is first? I'm not quite sure. Many welcomes, Star Trader. My father has already thanked you, but let me extend my gratitude as well. This business with my sister, Val, is toxic. It needs to end quickly. It has landed your family in difficult political waters. Between us, it is toxic from within, Captain. In what way, Eric? Valencia is basically under house arrest. She's not under lock and key, only for her own protection. My father does not know if he can trust her. Well, Eric, it looks like the case against your sister will be going forward. So, the Arbiter was unable to stop the case. It seems like this is 2 conversations, perhaps one we should have had previously. It will go forward. Arbiter Brockstrom saw compelling evidence and she will have to leave it in the hands of the judge. Then it's settled. There's no power in the galaxy that can stop Aiden Char from getting what she wants, a duel of assassins. When a court grants a duel of assassins, a death court is formed. Each faction in the duel rushes to take their grievances to the death court, petitioning for capture and kill warrants. If a duel is declared, the death court will issue a death warrant for Valencia's life. I don't think it's a question of if, but when, Captain. Aiden Char will have a chance to spill royal blood, but she has underestimated me. I need a star trader to help me prepare the Faen retribution. Interesting, so he's already planning for what happens after the case. Eric can see that, like it was mentioned before, responsibility flows upwards, and no matter what, Valencia will be found guilty in Chaloon law. Do you believe Valencia bombed the Highwind? Matters of retribution justice are not matters of opinion, Captain. It does not matter what I believe, it matters what the Maglumnu judge rules. This will be a lesson to remember. Once the court rules, the truth is of little consequence, yet. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Tell us what you're planning, Eric. Regardless of what happened at the Highwind Orbital, it's clear what Aiden Char is planning. When the court rules, they will compel Callaghan to pay compensation for the damages. The sum will be astronomical, measured in credits, percentage of industry profits for years, advantageous trade treaties, and capital ship deliveries. But Aiden will reject the compensation. If the compensation is rejected or cannot be paid, the wronged party may petition the judge to grant them retribution justice. If the judge grants a duel of assassins, then a death court will be established and capture and kill warrants will begin to be signed. That is where Aiden Char will make her mistake. Retribution justice is a double-edged blade. If she accepts the compensation, she would strike a one-sided economic blow to the Faen. But a death court serves as a clearinghouse for any cases between the two factions. Other cases, wrongs and injustices can be brought to the death court, even if they have nothing to do with the Highwind Orbital. But both sides can bring cases. You think you have such a case? I do in fact have a case. Aiden does not know that we too will be waiting for her duel of assassins. But I need your help to stall the case and gather further evidence for the death court hearing. I mean, that doesn't sound like a terrible plan. If he knows of something and can get retribution justice that way, that's fine, but that doesn't help Valencia in any way. He's just planning payback, potentially 6 years in the future. I'm happy to help. Tell us how we can help. We can get started right away. Justice Callaghan has chosen Valencia as his heir. Princess Aiden Char has her son, Arius Char. Arius is the target of your case. 2 years ago... Oh, his name is Airless, apologies. 2 years ago, Airless was commanding a military vessel that interdicted a Rychart mercantile ship named the Zolta. During the search, one of Airless's soldiers attacked and killed one of Zolta's officers. And just like in Valencia's case, the responsibility flows up to the captain. That's correct. The officer was Thomas Vento, son of the powerful Judge Ser Vento. Judge Ser started a legal case immediately. Airless's defense was that it was an accidental killing. Crew on both sides were involved in the spat. Unfortunately, the case is now wrapping up. The judge is about to rule on compensation for the Vento family. Then how is this case of any use to us? I have come into new information on the case. In fact, I have proof it was a targeted killing. An assassination. That would be enough to demand a death warrant from the death court. Where do we begin? The first step is to delay Ser Vento. She may be ready to put the case behind her, but we need her to petition the court for a chance to present new evidence. You will need to visit Ser and convince her to keep the case open for her son, for justice. What if she chooses to close the case and takes the compensation instead? If she hesitates, I will match whatever compensation she was going to get from the Char. Credit for credit. It is too good of a deal to turn down. Eric Faen has added a mission to the court's list to convince Judge Ser Vento to delay the end of her son's murder case. We'll need to prepare for travel. Travel safely, Captain. I'm placing a great deal of trust in you and credits at your back. Right, so we are now offered a mission for 63,000 delayed settlement. Right, very nice. Let's speak with Valencia now. The tour with Brockstrom did not turn out as planned. It's nothing new, Captain. This entire affair has been sinking to the below waist pit from the beginning. We had hoped our tour with the Arbiter might fish it out. No such luck. I only wish I had smelled the stink earlier. What were you doing at the Highwind? For years, our cohort has been trying to reach an agreement with Aiden Char over a technology exchange. Our Rychart scientists have developed a prototype of high efficiency hyperwarp engine. The meeting at the Highwind would have given the Faen cohort the first look at exactly what research they had to trade. Did you bomb the Highwind military installation? I'm glad we can be frank with each other. I give you my word that I'm not responsible for the bombing. However, I could believe that a traitor aboard my ship, the Medusa, snuck multiple explosives onto the orbital station. It's interesting that she says I'm not responsible for the bombing rather than I didn't do the bombing, because under Shaloon law, she didn't do the bombing. At least the evidence doesn't say that she committed the bombing, but she is responsible for it because responsibility flows upwards in command. However, I could believe that a traitor aboard my ship, the Medusa, snuck multiple explosives onto the orbital station. If that ends up being the case, I had no knowledge of it at the time, and yet I may suffer the retribution for it. She suspects a traitor. Who do you suspect? It's far past suspicion at this point. I have reason to believe that there is another hand pulling the strings in this mess. Speak clearly, Valencia. After the bombing, my crew started to jump ship at every turn. It was not a surprise. They all knew returning with me would mean prison bars and tough questions. Prison bars? Every crew member who stuck with me has been detained and interrogated since my return. My father's intelligence corps is looking for a culprit. By all accounts, someone aboard your ship is responsible for the bombing, so they're all suspects. Except that the big guilty crew would have jumped ship long before our return. Callaghan has people looking for them, but his hands are tied. He has to play by the rules, else risk the case going up in flames. We couldn't track down with that many people, even if we tried. I'm thinking of one man of particular interest. His name was Calbe Demor. Why him? I've known for some time that he is the Hunter agent. The independent revolutionaries. The one and only. Some would flat out call them terrorists. We don't know anything about the Hunter other than independent revolutionaries, so tell us about the Hunter. Independents have always scratched out a living on the fringes of faction space. They choose to live on the unclaimed planets, the real backwater, in order to be free of faction law, or in many cases to hide from faction law. We've sat down on indie systems. That kind of freedom can only be found in the worst systems. They chose freedom, but it has left them vulnerable. They get shoved around when the factions start jostling. The Hunter Collective has risen out of their resentment. They claim that the greed and power of the factions are destroying the free people, and they channeled that anger into violence. They're known for murder, sabotage, and intimidation tactics, but they're fighting for a cause they believe in. Bombing an orbital installation might just be in their bag of tricks. Tell us about Calbe, and we'll find your man. I have two leads to finding Calbe, one better than the other. First, I know the world where he split from my crew. You might be able to pick up his trail there in the Spice Hall. Also, he used to work for a smuggler I know, Amat Zir. She might be able to point you in the right direction. I know the Hunter were behind the bombings. If we have proof of that, perhaps my name could be cleared. Getting Calbe into your custody would be the first step. I will pay you handsomely to help prove my innocence. So now Valencia has added a mission into our mission list, and we can accept it if we're willing to help her. So I believe it's this one, Chasing Suspicion, and this is for significantly more money. Right, let's talk with Callaghan. From what you and Arbiter Brockstrom have shared, this legal case will be hard to win. Aiden has so much hard evidence, so we must fight two battles. First, we must meet Princess Char head-on in the legal court. We will slow her down, challenge every scrap of evidence, and drag this case through the mud. Secondly, we must work to petition the higher, saner power of both our factions. No one wants to see this turn into a duel of assassins except Aiden. If we can convince Clan McLumney leadership that this threatens their precious trading network, they may demand Princess Char accept just compensation. You'll need a dedicated star trader to negotiate on your behalf and carry messages across the quadrants. No shame from Captain Rolkin, love it. The destinations are not near, Captain. I will pay well for the work. For it is to have an impact, you'll need to move quickly and without much delay. Okay, so Princess Callaghan Faen will now offer us missions that allow us to influence the outcome of the legal case. That's really cool. I wonder how much you can actually influence the outcome. Right, finally, we should talk to Zet. You mentioned that we should keep our eyes open. I hope you've been listening and watching, Captain. It's easy to get caught up in the surface storyline, what everyone's talking about, the distraction. What do you think everyone's missing? Can you honestly say that you aren't skeptical about Aiden Char's likely story? Every single soul aboard the High Wind died. Every last record of the secret and potentially illegal research was lost. Not a stitch was recovered or backed up elsewhere. Now that you mention it, but no one's paying attention because there's a legal case and a threat to Valencia's life. What do you think Aiden is trying to hide? Is it too far-fetched that she bombed her own orbital to make the research disappear? It's very elaborate, but only as far-fetched as the claim that the research was completely lost in the explosion. Or perhaps the entire plan was to make Aldo Bastille disappear. The chief scientist Bastille? You think he didn't die? Everyone thinks it's a hyperbole when you hear about the most brilliant man in a generation. Not with Bastille. This is no exaggeration. What if he was spirited away to a secret laboratory where he can work out of sight? You have a lot of conspiracy theories. Because I'm looking past the front and their big, loud legal case. It's distraction. I actually agree with Set. I think the way she's looking at the situation shows a lot of insight. Something I would expect from Callaghan Faen. We know it wouldn't clear the case against Valencia. What do you propose we do about it? We need to find proof. I can't rely on the family's intelligence corps for this. This is where you come in, Captain. I need you to revisit the world where the High Wind went down. A little clandestine spying. We might pick up on a lead on whatever Char is trying to hide. I'll pay handsomely from my own treasury for your work. So Zet has also added a mission for us. Let's see how well that one pays. So Zet pays even more at 176. Oh no, this is Valencia's, beg your pardon. She pays a little bit less at 170. We have 3 years for this mission. 3 years. 8 years, 41. Let's take every single one of these missions. Making sure that we get our 19% bonus to the most expensive one. So, we have delayed settlement. Right, perhaps we should focus on timed escort, just quickly get it done before we get distracted with everything by the Faens. Right, so let's have a look. I would quite like to get a contact while we're here. We could get a merchant from Servento. We could get a spy, or we could get a military officer. I think we're going to go for the military officer. Because I really like military officers. Right, let's have a look at the card games. Nothing brilliant, but nothing terrible. The patrol was tempting. Right, so let's add a level 6 military officer to the crew. We do have a talent available. Lovely stuff. And we've also found out that they're calm. So introducing our military officer, Leandra Bacall. Let's quickly give her a hat and a uniform. That will do. Let's have a look. 2022, 2119. Right, nothing wrong with this. I don't think she'll be in combat, so things like calm, quickness and wisdom aren't too useful, but can never go wrong. Right, so I think we certainly should get commanding sweep. And I think we're going to go for stiff salute. Right, there we are. Let's continue with our timed export. It's been a couple of episodes, but hopefully we're not too much further away from our doctor / combat medic leveling up. Right, we had to use a navigation skill test save for that. As you can see, the danger rating in Thulsope has slowly been creeping up over time. I can't remember what it was, but it certainly wasn't 16. It was definitely in the single digits. I'm more than happy to... Of course it's a pirate. Surely nothing can happen to the negotiator. Let's find out. Yeah, so... I'm certain nothing happened to... Yeah, we've still got the mission. Perfect. Right, so this timed export, we now have 2 Death Among crews. I'm certainly not prepared to do that, so let's start by refueling, paying wages. Our doctor has indeed leveled up. So here we do indeed have a life-saving perk. Suddenly, that mission looks a lot more achievable than it did. Let's give ourselves another point in Smuggler, just because level 2 gives you more than any level after it. We have 2 E-techs that we could level up. I'll get 1 weakened system I doubt we'll ever use it, but it's nice to have one anyway. And let's go for static talks as well. I always overlook it, but it is very useful. We are about to need to do some spying as it is. Right, so our solar war conflict has ended. We actually beat Jafat, which should be very good for us, and we're also winning our current duel of assassins. Right. I mean, this is terrible, but what can we do? At least we have a lifesaver talent. Yeah, luckily we have the lifesaver talent. Okay, so our crew got injured. 2 people have dangerously low health. And this is absolutely terrible as well. I'm going to give it a go, but I have a feeling we're going to regret it. Right, pirate ship morale gets lowered. I guess we give it another spin. Yeah, it's just not really happening. This is also very, very difficult. Right, I suppose we will leave all of that alone for the time being and get out of the quadrant. Anything with the Xeno fleet is certainly too difficult for us to handle at the moment. This will take 2 weeks, 5 days, but I think that's fine. Right, let's start with Eric's quest, and we'll speak to the judge and attempt to get them to delay the verdict on their son's case. The Devaltos have defeated McClumney. I'd be interested to know whether this impacts our conflict with Aiden Jar and the other McClumneys. Let's give this a go. I'm very interested. I was very interested in the new contact introduction. But today doesn't seem to be our day for card games. Let's pay our crew's wages. We'll have 1 level up. It's our engineer / mechanic, who has made it to level 5. I think I'm going to hang on to it for the moment. I'm not quite sure where to put it. If you have any ideas, do leave a comment down below letting me know. But I think that's where we're going to leave it off here for today. Thank you so much for watching, and in the next episode we will carry on and hopefully start cracking out quests for all of the Faens. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.